Orani, my father's village. In a sea of breathtaking blue, where dolphins leaped and plunged in play, lay an island, tucked here and there along the white pebbled shores, where grottos hung with stalactites. Above, on the rugged cliffs, tiny goats picked their way among the rocks and thistles and wild-scented thyme. The fruit on the island tasted like the fruit of paradise, but wild boars roamed the mountains. There were nettles that stung, scorpions with poisonous tails, and bandits who stole sheep and sometimes kidnapped people. In the very heart of the island, in a valley, lay the village of Orani, where my father was born. Every year or so, my family traveled far across the ocean to Italy. An overnight boat took us from the mainland to the island's port, arriving at dawn. From there, we rode inland past the scrub oaks and red trunks of the harvested cork trees, past chalky cliffs and expanses blackened by bushfires. How long it took to get there! Hour after hour we drove under a scorching sun, until suddenly the curving road plunged down into the valley, and the houses, low and dark on either side, held us close. The car stopped abruptly, and relatives appeared from all around. Cousins took me by the hand and led me through the thick-walled houses and out into the courtyards. Under a fig tree, beside the laundry, among the chickens, they asked, "What is it like in America?" "Oh, it's better here," I always answered, making them laugh in disbelief. And off we went to pick warm plums and cool grapes, and to sit on the low stone walls of the kitchen gardens where tiny lizards dozed in the searing sun. More cousins appeared, and we scattered like birds. Our sandals clattering on the paving stones, we flew along the alleys up to the right, down sharply to the left, out into the blazing brightness of a piazza. Then back we ran into the cool funnel streets that crossed the entire sloping village all the way to the foot of the mountain, where water sprang from its source, cold and pure. Like little birds in ever-shifting combinations, we flew and settled wherever something was happening, and in Orani something was always happening, close enough to touch. We ran to see a baby newly born to a neighbor, to eat ice cream at a cafe owned by an uncle, to ask the miller to grind a bag of wheat into flour, to watch the tailor stitch jackets for the shepherds out of thick velvet, olive green, burnt ochre, brown, and black. Once we found a fledgling fallen from its nest and took it to a cousin who loved birds and had once tamed a hawk. From courtyards and doorways, goats stared at us with their slit pupils, or a tethered donkey twitched flies from its ears. Old women everywhere offered us holiday biscuits and chocolates. The roadside treats bent low to hand us their fruit. All the village, it seemed, was ours. We paused to eat. Around tables covered with a simple cotton cloth, and kitchens filled with aunts, uncles, and cousins, all speaking at once. The cheese came from someone's cow, the honey from someone's bees, and there were flies, always flies. Each day flowed into the next. High up in a fig tree, dangling my legs and peeling the sticky fruit still warm in the sun, I might be asked, "Have you ever seen a dead man?" No? And down we climbed into the streets, the open windows, so near we could hear the plates being cleared from the tables inside. "Up here," a cousin signaled. We climbed the narrow stairs in silence to a room where women wept in the shadows. There in the center lay an old man in holiday dress, his face rigid and white and cold, with the unspeakable strangeness of death. On Corpus Christi Day there was a race. Horsemen from a faraway village, known for its bandits, galloped recklessly through the streets. From time to avoid the heat of the day, women from several households came together late in the night to bake flat bread in low ovens. If we children woke, we heard shuffling and whispers as the dough, sounding like a plump baby was being playfully slapped, was patted into round balls. Toward morning, the aroma of bread, ballooning in the oven, filled the house and the courtyard. A woman, flushed with work, slit each balloon as it emerged from the oven into two flat discs, adding them to the growing piles that filled the linen-lined baskets. Once for a lark, my older cousins serenaded me at midnight, the way fiancés serenaded their future brides, and if I was lucky and a wedding took place during my stay, it lasted 3 days and 3 nights, with plates stacked high for all the feasting, and at day's end a circle dance formed, each person linked in arm in a living chain. On the outskirts of the village to the east lay the cypress-filled cemetery. We passed that way on the long climb to Santo Francisco, the tiny chapel alone on a mountain, waiting to be unlocked once a year on its name-day festival. A breeze always blew up there, smoothing the moss-covered boulders, stirring the wildflowers and the mushrooms that sprang up after a rain. I would look far down below at the village, so small and neat and silent in the distance, and think of all the noise and life it contained. All I needed to learn and feel and know was down there. Oh, how I loved that village of Orani! Then, too soon, came time to leave. I went back home to New York City with its tall buildings and its grids of straight streets. Everywhere there were so many people, it seemed strange that not one of them knew Orani. But then, what a different world! I wondered, what Orani of their own might they have known before they traveled here?